Hello, my friends. Happy day. It is good to be together. It has been a minute. Hi, my friends. I think I started before Facebook was ready for me to start, which is not at all surprising to me because I'm so excited to be with you today. It has been a minute since I've gone live. So if you are here, if you happen to catch this actually on the live feed, just say hello. I love to know who's out there. And what's going on in your world. There is a lot going on in my world right now, and that was part of the reason that I decided to hop on live today. There are a lot of moving parts, there are a lot of tools that are available, and just a general refresh about the power of clarity and who, in particular, the kinds of personalities that can struggle with finding it in a way that allows them to build it for themselves, to build what they want, to build the kind of life they want to be living. If you don't know me, if you've never been here before with me or in any of my live spaces, I'm Beth Jones. I support the supporters. I support the people who care for typically everybody but themselves. And they're constantly pouring and pouring and pouring into the world and the people around them until they are completely depleted. And then they typically go into hiding so they can restore themselves. And then they come back out in full force because that's the only way they know how to do it. And so they're constantly living in some extreme, right? They're either doing it all the way or they're not doing it all because they don't have the capacity. And so my role is to help them find the tipping point, to find the balance point, their sweet spot in the middle that allows them to stay full while they continue to give and do and create impact and amplify the good things in the world. These are extraordinary humans. They're brilliant. They're wildly capable. They're independent. They're self reliant. And they are so freaking smart. And sometimes all of those things get square in the middle of their own way because we don't know what we don't know and we can't see what we can't see. And so we can spend years and decades running around in circles, putting in all this effort to try to get unstuck from the cycle that we found ourselves in that we know isn't serving us, but we can't see outside of our own perspective. These are the same people that are used to being able to solve big, complex problems. They're out in the world helping other people solve big, complex problems. And so in many cases, they think that something's wrong with them. They're out solving these problems in the world and they feel to some degree like frauds because they have these big problems in their own personal worlds that they can't figure out how to solve. And it's not because they're not brilliant and capable and excellent problem solvers. It's because their brain is hiding things from them. And it's one of the biggest fallacies of self-help. Because yes, we can do a ton of things on our own. We can make a lot of progress on our own. But we can't see the things that our brains are hiding from us without some outside support and perspective. The problem is, and what's really deeply uncomfortable for the kind of people I work with, who happens to be dealing with a lot of the same patterns I dealt with in my own past and had to recruit outside support to help me get out of, is that they feel like getting help and getting support means that they're failing. It means that they can't do it alone. And that's a fallacy too. Because the reality is they probably can at some point a light bulb will come on and shine light, or some random stranger will say a thing that changes their perspective and allows them to see things they couldn't see before. The problem is, how long do you want to wait for some random moment like that to come about while all these years of your life are happening in the interim? My own journey completely shifted when I stopped shaming myself about needing help and support, because I made that mean that I was weak or broken or was failing, and shifted it into just fucking wanting it. Because I wanted out, and I wanted out in the fastest and easiest way possible. And at the time in my journey when I decided that, I had been in a place where I deeply wanted support for a long time. But I didn't know how to ask for it, and I didn't know how to receive it, and I didn't know how to give myself permission to have it. And so all of those things, all of those barriers in my own brain kept me chasing my tail for a very long time. And so it wasn't until I chose that I wanted it and chose to take it for myself and completely threw out the needing and the self-shaming and the guilt and all the things, and decided that come hell or high water, I was going to have what I always wanted. And when I finally recruited the outside support and learned all of those things about myself that I didn't know before I hired the outside support, I saw the patterns that were keeping me separated from the people that I wanted connection and support from. I found the invisible barriers within me that kept people from seeing me at the depth I wanted them to see me at. I had a lot of hangups about judgment and the concept of vulnerability that kept me from being willing to be authentic and open in spaces where I could trust the people I was being authentic and open with, to care what I was going through and to be willing to help me through it. And because the story in my own mind told me that nobody was going to show up for me, I had to find spaces where I was being provided support that I paid for so that I could learn how to receive it. And when I learned how to receive it and what was blocking me from it, and I learned that all the hangups that were within me were within me. They weren't things other people had put onto me. They were stories that I had told myself for a whole number of reasons over the course of the years. I built the confidence and the ability to be authentic and vulnerable, and learned to trust when I chose to be the most open and the most vulnerable and when I didn't. Because vulnerability is not something, and authenticity is kind of, to me, those things are very connected. Intimacy, vulnerability is not something we owe everybody on the planet. One of the things that I tell my inner circle clients is, and we talk about it a lot, is that vulnerability is a lot like being naked. We won't go to the grocery store, well, some of you might. We won't go to the grocery store completely naked around a whole bunch of strangers we don't know and let it all out there. And the same is true with our mental and emotional depth, and with the things that are closest to our hearts, and the things that are going on with us, and the struggles that we're having, and the tribulations, the celebrations, right? You guys have been in situations where you've shared really great news, where you're really excited about it with people that aren't capable of being happy for you. And that's just as bad. It's just as soul crushing as sharing something that's deeply challenging with people that don't care to support you through it. That's what I mean about vulnerability being the same as being naked, right? We have to learn and we have to know how to build deeper and deeper relationships where we can show up in that full capacity. And the more often we do that, the more often we begin to understand that we can be more open more of the time and let people's thoughts and opinions and judgments stay with them without rattling our emotional cage or making us feel some kind of way about ourselves or what we're doing or our purpose in the world. So, kind of went on a whole tangent there, which is kind of par for the course. Like I said, in the work that I do with my inner circle clients, we call these like mini TED Talks, like TED Talk time, because there are a lot of nuances to what I do in supporting these kind of people and in sharing my story and my journey all the way through it and all the bits and pieces that come along with it. And so now I have the ability to trust that I can speak the things that are on my heart and know that somebody out there needs to hear it. I do want to talk about clarity, and I do want to talk about all the things that are going on and all the tools that are available right now and all the ways that I support people. The most pressing is if you're local, tomorrow night is what has become a monthly gathering for the kinds of people I was talking about before who typically are in service roles, they're in leadership roles, they're in caretaking roles. Oftentimes they're business owners or independent professionals because they typically are kind of march to the beat of your own drum, rebels with a cause, black sheep humans, which happens to be exactly who I am as a person, if you don't know me. And tomorrow night, again, is our monthly gathering at Centerfire Cocktail Lounge. It's in Sneads Ferry, North Carolina. We start gathering about 5:30. I tend to start, I'll call it a presentation. There's nothing uber formal about it. It's a lot like this, at about 6 o'clock. I tend to wrap up around 7:30 or 8, but nobody's held hostage. If you must get up and go because you have other things to do, or you're not a nighttime person, that's totally fine. Come and be with us for as long as you are able or willing. So that's number one, the number one thing that's going on, because that's tomorrow, Tuesday. The second thing that's going on is that if you don't know, I lead a membership platform called the Keyholder Society. And we gather 4 times a month. We gather every Wednesday morning. And it is a tribe of black sheep. It is a group of people who are learning how to give the care and the grace and the support and the understanding to themselves that they give to everybody but themselves and have for a very long time, so that they can get off this wild roller coaster swinging between the extremes we were talking about before of like giving, and doing all the things all the time until they crash, and then living in self-isolation for as long as it takes to get a little energy back so they can go again. Because we can live much more sustainable, much more balanced, much more peaceful feeling lives when we can get off this roller coaster and start operating in the same trajectory but much more smoothly, right? So those are the things that we work on together. There are a lot of pieces to that. If you'd like the information on that, our application process is open right now. We accept as many people as we can every month that are in alignment with what we do and our values. I'm very protective of that space. But if this sounds like something that speaks to you, please reach out. I'll send you the link that shares all the information about what we do and what being a part of that means. And that website also has a link to the application, so you can just learn about it and click on through and save yourself a seat with us, because we would love to have you. Also, the third thing that's happening, which you may have seen, you may not have seen, is that I deeply, deeply, deeply believe in creating space for like-minded humans to gather. And so we talked about what's happening in our kind of monthly meetup locally for people that are here in my local community. It's a really neat space to be able to share. We talked about the virtual option for those of you that are local and would like more in-depth support, or aren't anywhere near here and don't have the opportunity to come be with us in person. And the third piece of the puzzle right now is that I am hosting a retreat. I rented out an entire property in Costa Rica at the end of April, and that starts April 24th. It's 6 nights, 6 days, 6 days. And it's an extraordinary property full of love and support and adventure and magic. Like I said, that's happening at the end of April, so that the kinds of people that I support have an opportunity to experience what I was just talking about. Oftentimes, people like us don't know how to allow ourselves to receive support and care because we've never experienced it without strings attached. And that's what the retreat is about. The retreat is an opportunity not only for you to get rest and restoration and restore this like bottom of the barrel energy level that you've been trying to operate and force your way through. So there's going to be a lot of rest and a lot of support that allow you to fill your cup back to overflow. And then a lot of conversation and a lot of masterminding and a lot of discussion about how to reshape your life and make these micro shifts. Because I'm not really an upset the apple cart kind of person, right? It feels really overwhelming when we talk about the concept of changing our lives. We think that it has to. My people tend to be overachievers, so we think that has to happen in like one fell swoop, right? We have to either be doing this all the way or doing this all the way, right? And so a lot of what I teach is how to make micro shifts, choices that don't require a whole lot of time commitment or a whole lot of energy or a whole lot of like mental and emotional bandwidth, that are easy to build upon. They're like stepping stones, right? Once we create this shift, then when we can create the next shift. And once we do that, every shift we make, our perspective starts to shift. What we can see is available to us starts to change. And then we can start making different choices. So the retreat in Costa Rica is designed to be a space where a very select number of people, because this is a small group retreat, will be able to experience what it's like to be in a non-judgmental environment, to be surrounded by people that understand them at their depth without them explaining a thing about who they are or what they've been through. A place where we can start to talk about these micro shifts, but ultimately a place where these people can live into their future, where they can get a taste of what it's like to live in balance, to be poured into while we're pouring into others, to take the space we need to fill our own cups and what that looks like, to really allow ourselves to show up openly and open-hearted and in depth, and understand that there will be people that will love and celebrate us every single step of the way for it. And as the saying goes, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you experience these things for yourself and you realize what they look like and the way that they can show up and the way that they might show up in a way that you couldn't see before, then when you come back to your day-to-day life, you can see more of what's available in your day-to-day moments with the people that are already around you, with the opportunities that are already around you. And so it's incredibly profound to spend physical time immersed in a space like that. It has changed me every time I've done it, for myself, because I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything that I'm not willing to do for me. Every single time I have had the opportunity to immerse myself in a physical space with like-minded, like-hearted humans of similar caliber that are working on the same kinds of plans and projects and visions that I'm working on, I have received multitudes of benefit that I wasn't even expecting when I entered the space. It's a magical thing. It's a magical moment, and I hope you can join us for that, because it's going to be very beautiful, and it's going to be incredibly impactful for those that can join us on that trip. So if you have questions about that, there probably is a link that's going to pop up on this video somewhere. So hopefully you can see that. If it doesn't pop up, shoot me a message. I would be happy to send you that information so you can see it. Those are the big three that are going on right now. So you can choose your own adventure, as it were. The other thing I did want to talk about is this concept of clarity. So I joke sometimes that having what we want in life can actually be as easy as the way we order a cheeseburger. And that sounds completely absurd. I appreciate it. We love to overcomplicate the concept of building our dream lives. Often this happens because we think we're clear on what we want, but we're not all the way clear on what we want. So if you think about the way that you would go to like a really great burger joint, like a sit-down place, and order the kind of burger that you want, you might order one patty or two. You want the meat cooked a certain way. There's a certain list of toppings that you want. There's toppings that you definitely don't want. And you are completely unashamed about saying, I want my burger cooked medium. I hate onions. Please leave them off. I want lettuce, ketchup, mayonnaise, and tomatoes in that order. I also want ranch dressing on the side, like whatever it is. And you don't make it mean anything about you other than that's what you want to eat. What happens when we translate that to our lives in general is that, one, society at large tends to get a lot judgier, or we think that that's what they're thinking. So we'll say, I want to own a yacht. And we know that's true for ourselves. That's just something we've decided that we wanted for one reason or 50. And then we get really scared to say it out loud because we're worried that people are going to judge us for wanting a yacht, or they're going to tell us that we don't deserve it, or they're going to tell us that we're never going to have the money to accomplish that for ourselves, or any number of like buzzkill kind of things, right? And so we have these visions and we silence ourselves about them. And when we silence ourselves about them, we get further and further away from clarity because we won't allow ourselves to want what we want in the first place. I've seen people do this with the kinds of relationships that they're looking for. They're looking for their dream partner, but they have no idea what that means. There's this hope that one day this person's going to show up and it's going to be like just magical alignment and everything's going to just be sunshine and rainbows and unicorns forever and ever. But when it gets really powerful is not, and this is, people get hung up on the look of things too. When we talk about like a dream car or a dream house or a dream partner or a dream life, we start getting hung up on what it looks like rather than what it feels like. So it never fails that when I say that, inevitably somebody will go, oh, so I'm just supposed to date a person that I'm not attracted to. No, I did not say that. That feeling of attraction, of chemistry, is also important. And if that's important to you, then that should be a thing on the list. But what we should be considering is the emotion, the why. What it is that this person makes us feel or experience in our day-to-day lives. What this dream car feels like when we're driving it. One of my mentors one time, she said, don't miss the thing that you've been waiting your whole life for because it showed up in a package that looks different than you thought. If you want a car that drives fast and performs well and makes you feel sexy and powerful, and somebody hands you the keys to a Maserati instead of a Lamborghini, and you thumb your nose at it. Because we missed that there was an opportunity that gave us all of the things we wanted in a different package than what we were hoping for, that we saw in our minds. These are really important things to think through. And so it's not just about, and we can do this kind of clarity exercise in every single facet of our lives. When we talk about health journeys, we can talk about losing weight, but what's going to be most successful is the way we feel in our bodies, the way we feel in our clothes, the way we feel about our general level of fitness and our ability to accomplish and physically perform what we want to be able to do every day. In addition to what the journey to get there feels like. Are we okay with taking a little bit longer if it's fun and enjoyable? Or do we legitimately have a hard deadline where we have to be ready to run a marathon by the end of next month? All of these things are important pieces of the puzzle that allow us to build environments that support us while we're supporting them. That allow us to create environments that encourage us and support us in our thriving instead of just existing for another day, instead of just getting through another day. To live a life that actually feels great. Does that mean that we can live in lands of sunshine and rainbows and unicorns where there are no challenges and there are no hardships and there are no external pressures and there are no jerks, right? No. Because we can't control other people. But the more we focus on what other people are doing in their lane, the more it interferes with what we're doing in our lane. And when we feel good and purposeful and fulfilled about what we're doing, and we feel whole within ourselves, and we're building lives that support that wholeness, we don't have to care what the jerks are doing in their lanes anymore. We can care about the parts where they're interjecting. We can care about the parts that are interfering with our ability to continue in our lane. And we can mitigate those things. But most of the time, we can just let them go do what they do somewhere else, right? We don't have to let it rattle us all the time. We don't have to carry their nonsense. If you've been with me here today, I'll be going live a lot more often. I've missed doing this with you all. Thank you for being here. If you're catching a replay, drop a heart or something later on, because I love to see who's around. If you're interested in joining us tomorrow night live at Centerfire in Sneads Ferry, if you're interested in the Keyholder Society, our virtual platform where Black Sheep come to thrive, or if you're interested in joining us on the retreat, please just shoot me a message. I'm happy to share. I'm happy to chat through the different options too, to figure out what might work best for you, or if it's a fusion of all the things. So reach out. Let me know how I can support you. Above all things, know that you're not alone. This is not just a you problem. A lot of people that are going through these things think they're the only ones and that they're broken in some way, and you're not. And as always, know that you are brilliant and deserving and capable, even on the days when it feels like you're not. I'll see you next time.